Imagine this. The stadium lights blaze, the world is watching, millions of eyes fixed on the stage. The Super Bowl. The single most electrifying event in American entertainment. And there, in the middle of it all, sits Bruno Mars, his hands gripping the drumsticks, sweat on his brow, fire in his heart. He's about to give a performance that will live forever. But behind the gold jacket, behind the spotlight, behind the rhythm that shook the nation, there is a story few dare to tell. Because for Bruno Mars, that night wasn't just about glory. It was about grief. It was about love. It was about a son, forever bound to his mother. Now, before we unravel this hidden truth, take a second, subscribe to this channel, tap like, share this story with the people who need to hear it, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Because once you step into this world, you won't see Bruno Mars the same way again. Bruno Mars, born Peter Jean Hernandez in Honolulu, Hawaii, wasn't raised to be a star. He was raised to be a son. A child of music, a boy whose earliest memories were bathed in the sounds of drums, guitars, and the soulful voice of his mother. She was his anchor. His guiding light. And when tragedy struck in 2013, when he lost her suddenly to a brain aneurysm, his world shattered. To the world, he was Bruno Mars, the hitmaker, the showman, the legend in the making. But to her, he was always just her little boy. And that truth has never left him. In 2014, Bruno Mars stepped onto the Super Bowl stage. Millions saw the fireworks, the choreography, the impossible charisma. But what if, just for a moment, we could look deeper? What if we could peel back the glamour and see what Bruno saw? Imagine, just behind those stadium lights, in the shadows of the crowd, his mother watching, her eyes glistening with pride. The AI-generated image you see here captures a fantasy, a dream, a haunting what-if. Bruno, seated at his emerald green drum kit, and his mother's arms wrapped around him. She never got to be there. But what if she was? This is where the story twists. Because that night, Bruno wasn't just performing for America. He was performing for her. Every beat of the drum, every note that soared into the night sky was a message. I'm still your boy, Mom. I'm still carrying you with me, but here's the hidden detail most people missed. During his halftime show, right before he launched into the explosive finale, Bruno took a pause. Just a second. He looked upward. Some thought it was just part of the act. But for those who knew his pain, it was more. It was a whisper, a prayer, a son sending his heart across the stars, and here's where the suspense thickens. Did you know that Bruno almost turned down opportunities around that time? That grief had nearly silenced the music inside him. Imagine that, a world where Bruno Mars, the man who gave us Just the Way You Are and Uptown Funk, almost never returned to the stage. But he did. And why? Because of her. Because the echo of his mother's voice kept pushing him forward. Sing. Play. Shine. As the years passed, fans saw the hits, the Grammys, the headlines. But Bruno's inner circle saw something else. They saw a man who carried a quiet pain with grace, a man who never let the world see him break, yet whose every performance carried traces of the woman who raised him. Isn't it haunting to think about? That every time Bruno Mars makes the world dance, somewhere in his heart, he's dancing for her. Now pause and look again at this AI-edited image. It's not real. And yet, in a way, it is more real than reality itself. Because it captures the truth words cannot. A mother, proud, arms around her son. The world watching, but for her, it's only him. That image, though fabricated, tells the story of Bruno Mars more honestly than any photograph ever could, and here's the twist you didn't see coming. Bruno himself once said in interviews that the stage is the only place he feels closest to his mother. Think about that. Every time he steps into the light, he's not just entertaining. He's grieving. He's remembering. He's reuniting. The crowd cheers, but in his mind, maybe he hears her voice above it all. This is why Bruno Mars connects so deeply with audiences. It's not just talent. It's not just showmanship. It's the invisible thread that ties him to something bigger, something heartbreakingly human. We all know loss. We all know love. And through his music, Bruno Mars lets us feel both at once. That's why when you listen, you don't just hear a pop song, you feel a heartbeat. His and hers. So ask yourself this: when Bruno Mars lit up that Super Bowl stage in 2014, was it just a performance? Or was it a tribute, an unspoken love letter broadcast to the heavens? The truth may lie in that split-second glance upward, in that beat that seemed to hang a little longer, in that smile that trembled before exploding into joy, and maybe that's the beauty of Bruno Mars. He shines for the world, yes. But he will always, always, be his mother's little boy. Now imagine if she had been there. Imagine the embrace after the show, the tears of joy, the words she might have whispered, "I'm proud of you, son." The image may be artificial, but the emotion behind it? That's as real as it gets. This is Bruno Mars. The sun. The star. The child who turned his pain into light, who gave the world music while carrying his mother's memory in every note. And maybe that's why, decades from now, when people remember Bruno Mars, they won't just remember the hits. They'll remember the heart. And now I'll ask you, do you believe she was there with him that night, in some way unseen? Because maybe that's the real secret. Maybe the brightest light in that stadium wasn't the fireworks, but the invisible presence of a mother's love. But to truly understand the weight of that moment, we have to step back to the roots, back to the boy before the man. Bruno Mars grew up in a tiny one-room home in Honolulu, Hawaii. The world knows him as the polished superstar, but the child version of Bruno slept on the floor alongside his siblings, music echoing through the walls like a second heartbeat. His mother, Bernadette, was not just his caretaker. She was the reason he believed in magic. She was the voice that told him, even when life was hard, that he could reach higher. Picture little Peter Jean Hernandez, no spotlight, no glittering suit, just a boy with a ukulele in his hand and stars in his eyes. His mother would watch him sing Elvis Presley songs, and her smile, warm, unwavering, was all the applause he ever needed. Long before there were stadiums, there was her, and that is why her absence still feels like a presence. Because when Bruno Mars lost his mother, he didn't just lose a parent, he lost the audience of one that mattered most. Isn't that the cruel irony? The world chants his name, yet the voice he longs to hear is gone. Fast forward to the Super Bowl stage in 2014. Millions of Americans huddled around their televisions. Social media lit up with excitement. And Bruno, only 28 at the time, stood at the center of it all. The performance was flawless, unforgettable. But here's the hidden layer: for Bruno, it wasn't about perfection. It was about connection. Every beat of the drum carried a memory. Every line he sang carried her name. Have you ever noticed how he smiled after the drum solo, almost to himself? It was subtle, fleeting, yet powerful. To most, it was just showmanship. To those who knew, it was something deeper. Perhaps, in that exact moment, he imagined her arms around him, the way this AI-created image now dares to portray. A fantasy. A what-if. But also a truth more powerful than reality itself. That's what makes this story more than music history. It's human history. Because Bruno Mars is not just singing for us, he is singing for everyone who has ever lost someone they can never forget. He becomes our voice, our grief, our joy. And that is why America embraced him so fiercely. He reminds us that even the brightest stars are still someone's child. Thank you for watching this journey into Bruno Mars's story. If you felt something, if this touched you even for a moment, don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder of the power of love and memory, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Because Bruno Mars may shine on stage, but the light that keeps him burning lives in the hearts of those who believe. And remember, he shines for the world. But in the end, he'll always be his mother's little boy.